And just like that, oops, went too quick, went too quick, went too quick. What is this? Oh, my monitors. Anyway, let me move this over a little bit out of view for everybody. There we go, there we go, there we go. Audio check, audio check. We look good with the audio check. So, without further ado, let me go ahead and begin some things here. It's been a minute since I've been on. Let me tell you guys the big news why. The schedule came out last Thursday, and you're just now seeing me go live doing this video on Monday. The big reason is that I am now officially engaged. So celebrate life events for me. Give me a little clap. Give me a little star, something like that. But, you know, I always, in my coverage of the Carolina Panthers, like to be a very personable person, like to connect with my viewers. So that is why we're just now here doing this video, which I hope you guys enjoy. I have never done a video like this where I go in depth over the upcoming schedule and talk about the details of each game. So as we go through this conversation, I want to get some feedback from you all. You know that I love interaction with fans, with supporters. So as I go through this schedule game by game, please feel free to jump in and tell me whether or not you think that's a game that the Panthers will win or will not win, or whatever you have to say about it, and we'll have some fun. So look, before I also get deep into it, I always love and need your support. So the easiest and most free way that you can do that, show support by hitting that like button. That will help other Panthers fans find out about me and helps me to get other players on the show, which you guys know ever since this pandemic. Maybe you guys don't know, but I did a lot of Instagram live videos with players on the team during the pandemic, just to let you know what those people were up to during the pandemic when they couldn't go anywhere. Now I'm moving that over to undrafted free agents. So I have some of those guys lined up to be talked to this week. So if you haven't subscribed, that's a good reason to subscribe so that you will get that link notification when that happens. That's it. Let's go ahead and get into this show. Chris Johnson, Locke Spain, Maurice Crosby, everybody's online. Again, we're going to go through this schedule. I'm in a different chair because I'm too much information. But we're going to go ahead and talk about this schedule. I'm going to put it up now for everybody to take a look at. Here is the Carolina Panthers' upcoming 2020 schedule. Week 1, week 2, well, I'm going to go through it all one by one, but that's the upcoming schedule that we are going to be dealing with. And I'm also going to let you guys know about which games that I'll be traveling to and which games I won't be traveling to, just to share. But again, whether I'm traveling or not traveling, you can definitely count on Charlotte Vibe to be bringing you the action. So, first game of the season is against the Las Vegas Raiders. It's kind of crazy saying that, right? Las Vegas Raiders. And didn't get a chance to go out to Las Vegas because the NFL draft was canceled. And will not get to go to Las Vegas to see the game because we play them here at home in Charlotte at 1 p.m. So let's go ahead and talk about this game and what it may look like. So the Raiders were 7-9 last year under Coach John Gruden. Some losses that they had as far as player personnel, linebacker Vontaze Burfict, linebacker Tahir Whitehead, which is now a member of the Carolina Panthers, cornerback Daryl Worley. And I had to mention Daryl because he used to play for the Carolina Panthers. Those are some of the losses for this team. Some acquisitions, quarterback Marcus Mariota is going to provide some depth, maybe challenge Derek Carr for that starting position. Jason Witten isn't so much the Jason Witten that we know from the Dallas Cowboy days and before he went into the booth, but still a name worth mentioning as one of those additions for the Las Vegas Raiders. And then they added, and then in the draft, the Raiders got a lot of targets to help Derek Carr. They got some wide receivers, some running backs, and things like that in the draft to try to give him some targets. And through free agency, the Raiders added a lot of pieces on that defensive side. So, first game, do we win against the Las Vegas Raiders or do we lose? You guys may or may not know, I'm not a big fan of predictions, but I'm going to do them just for the sport of it in this conversation here. So don't say this video and go to play it back and say, hey, Chris said, because right now there's so much unknown. We don't even know if we're going to have fans in the stands, which I think they may have fans, but it's just ridiculous to think that you may have stadiums with 80,000 people come September with everything that's going on right now. So for this Las Vegas Raiders game, I am going to go for, and you guys and ladies, what do you think? Are we going to beat the Las Vegas Raiders first game? How do I feel? How do I feel? How do I feel? 7-9. I'm going to give us a victory. So you guys keep track. I'm going to give us a victory against the Las Vegas Raiders in game 1 against John Gruden, as I think maybe we'll get a little bit of luck with Rule and his staff. You know, overall, I feel like this team is in a risky situation, and Tepper may be looking at high risk, high reward. I know a lot of people are enthusiastic about Rule, and I am too, but I just look at all the different pieces. I probably should have said this at the very beginning. I'm going to have to be sold on this team. I like Rule, but liking somebody and whether or not they're successful are two different things. So we'll have to see how it plays out, but I don't like that we have so much college newness on this team to run in the NFL. That's just my opinion, but again, we'll see how it works out. All right, so we're going to keep moving through this. All right, some people think that we'll win that first game against the Las Vegas Raiders. We'll see. Moving right along, game number 2. Again, let me know what you all think. We'll be against Tom Brady, or should I say Tampa Bay? Against Tom Brady and Tampa Bay Buccaneers. That game will be in Tampa at 1 o'clock. I am going to give this game to the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. But let me go ahead and talk about, as I will with each team, what they did last year, some key acquisitions, and possibly some key losses. So Tampa Bay was 7-9 last year. Key losses, if you can say so, was Jameis Winston. Key additions, if you can say so, Tom Brady. Gronk is back at tight end. Tampa Bay used the draft to pick up some protection for Tom Brady at right tackle. So you combine this with this being the acquisitions of Brady, Gronkowski, getting Brady some protection through the draft. You combine this with already a team that already has some pretty good skill people on the offensive side, really good wide receivers, really good running back, really good defense, and I think that we're going to lose this one in Tampa Bay. Let me see what Maurice is talking about. I hate to say it, we lose. Maurice, I forget which game you're talking about saying that we lose there. So if you could tell me again, but I'm going to continue to move through this. And again, I'm going to let you all keep track on the win-loss. I think right now we're at a 1-1. So I'm able to keep track so far. I will be at that Tampa Bay game, by the way. Moving on, game number 3 will be against the Los Angeles Chargers. Game that I'm very, very excited to go to because in Los Angeles they have built what I believe is now the most expensive stadium in the NFL with SoFi Stadium. So that game has certainly been on my radar, circled since I saw that was going to be there. But give us a chance to see, I'm kind of jumping ahead of myself, Trey Turner, who was traded to the Chargers. But nevertheless, let me go through this. Chargers last year were 5-11. Biggest loss would have been quarterback Phillip Rivers. Key additions would be Brian Baligo, offensive tackle, Chris Harris at cornerback, Linval Joseph, defensive tackle, and Trey Turner, who was acquired from the Carolina Panthers. Those are some of the key additions that they have. And in the draft, they got a good quarterback, number 6 quarterback overall, and a nice defensive piece as well in the first round. They had 2 first-round picks, so they did get some new pieces out there. And do we win this game against the Chargers in Los Angeles? I'm going to go with no. I'm going to go with a loss against the Chargers in Los Angeles. It's our first trip to the West Coast. Probably will end up leaving on a Friday. And I'm going to give the new quarterback for the Chargers the win here. Can't tell you any big reasons why, but I just think it's going to be hard for us. Anyway, I'm not going to harp on that, but that's the outlook. So far with me, I say we're 1-2. Let me read a few comments here. From Panthers God on YouTube, after looking at the schedule, our team, roster, and coaches. He says 16-0. Trill says 7-9, 8-8. But we'll keep going through this. And again, I haven't mentioned it, but super chats are more than welcome to continue to support this channel and doing what I do and having the players on. Super chats are something that you can access if you're on your phone. It's probably easy. If you turn it sideways, you'll see this little dollar sign. You can hit that. That's a way to donate to the channel, help keep us going. And also any super chats, I am guaranteeing you that I will respond to your comments and discuss them, all right? So according to Chris Jenkins, Carolina Panthers are now 1-2, and they return back to Charlotte to take on the Arizona Cardinals, where they will get back to 500. But let me break this down. Arizona Cardinals are headed by Kyler Murray, second-year quarterback that had a very, very good first year. They went 5-10 last year, but they had some really close games, some entertaining games, so you certainly look for them to continue to pick up on that. On the defensive side, regarding the losses that they had so far in free agency, they lost a lot of offensive weapons, and including 2 wide receivers, one of them being Damiere Byrd. I like to always mention former Carolina Panthers just to keep up with them. Damiere Byrd has now been picked up by the New England Patriots, so congratulations to him. Additions, didn't do a bad job replacing a few of those wide receivers left. They got DeAndre Hopkins out of Houston. So the draft, they used that well to pick up and build on the defensive side. I think this will be a good game. I feel like it's going to be a home game. It's going to be our second home game, and I feel like, I guess at this point, we're going to be 2. Did I predict the win for that first game? Gosh, I forget. You guys got to tell me what I predicted for that first game, because I don't do big on predictions. But I do predict that we will win that matchup against the Arizona Cardinals here in Charlotte. That's a 1 o'clock start. We only have one primetime game, which I'm going to get to here shortly. Moving on to game number 5. We will be playing the Atlanta Falcons in Atlanta. Falcons were 7-9 last year. Their key losses in free agency were tight end Austin Hooper, Luke Stoker, and defensive end Vic Beasley, safety Desmond Trufant. Those are some of the key losses for the Atlanta Falcons. Some key pieces, they added some guys on defense. Perhaps got a feel. They picked up Todd Gurley. His contract was too much for LA. They got rid of him. Atlanta Falcons picked him up the very next day. He did have a declining performance. These running backs, man, they just seem to, out of nowhere, in my opinion, just hit a wall. But the Falcons were able to pick him up, so he should be somebody that helps this team out. This game will be in Atlanta. I'm going to give Atlanta this victory. Atlanta has been ruling us, especially in home games, the past couple of years. I know previous to that, 3 to 4 years ago, that we had their number, but they seem to have our number right now. So I'm going to give Atlanta Falcons this game. And if anybody can help keep track of how many wins and losses I said that we'd have at this point, let me know. Let me skip over to some of these comments, because I love to interact. So please always leave some comments here. We'll have some good conversation. What's up, C? Maurice Crosby agrees with me in that there will be an Arizona win. Someone thinks 11-5 if our defense can gel quickly. And then we got some negatives there. 4-12, and a 3-13. All right, let's keep it moving. Next, we have a matchup against the Chicago Bears. Charlotte game, 1 p.m. Chicago Bears were 8-8, so they're a 500 team, better than us last year. Key losses: safety Clinton Dix and Nick Williams, defensive tackle. Key additions were Nick Foles, Ted Ginn. Like I said, I always like to mention those Carolina guys so you can continue to follow along. Jimmy Graham, even though he's been on the decline, that's a name that I felt that was worth mentioning as far as an addition for the Chicago Bears. But their biggest pickup was Robert Quinn, a defensive end. And through the draft, they did not have a first rounder because they traded for it in that deal when they got Khalil Mack. But they did get yet another tight end, which just jumps out because I think the Bears have I don't know, like 7 or 8 tight ends. So I would imagine they plan on using a lot of double tight end sets, maybe using tight end as a fullback sometimes, because having 7 or 8 tight ends is just incredible. But this Chicago game in Charlotte, the Bears, I feel like, have gotten better. I'm going to give this game to Chicago. This game I'm going to give to Chicago. All right. Next, we travel to New Orleans. Going to give this a loss. Let me go through it in the same order that I have been going. All right. New Orleans last year were the NFC South champs. They had a 13-3 record. Key losses: Teddy Bridgewater, which is now the franchise quarterback for the Carolina Panthers. They lost Ted Ginn, whom I mentioned has gone to Chicago. A.J. Klein, I've always loved that guy. Never got a chance to sit and talk with him much, but A.J. Klein has left. Cornerback Eli Apple and safety Von Bell are now out in New Orleans. Some additions were safety Malcolm Jenkins, Emmanuel Sanders, and Jameis Winston. I have to mention Jameis because it's just a name that guys in the NFC South, he took a really, really low deal to go over to the Saints and confess that he wanted to go over to the Saints for the learning experience that could be had there. They have some talent with Drew Brees. They have Taysom Hill that they have put a lot of money in returning to that team. And now they have Jameis Winston. So depth at that position is important. They got it, and they got it at a really good price. So I feel like this New Orleans team will continue to roll, and they will continue to beat and have the Carolina Panthers number. Playing down in New Orleans also is a tough place to play in. So for those reasons, I have to give that a loss in New Orleans. Number 8, Atlanta Falcons in Charlotte. That is our only prime time game. That is the only prime time game. Give me a second here. Got to take a screenshot of something that I need to work on. Give me just 1 second. By the way, if anybody is keeping track of my record with my win-loss predictions, please type it because I don't know what I have gotten to up until this point. Now, Locks, man, and everybody that's watching, okay, I knew this was going to be a possibility. When I said franchise quarterback, I mean not that he is our franchise in terms of he's the best. That what some people define as a franchise quarterback, and that will lead this team to the glory land. What I mean by that simply is he is our number 1 quarterback. So maybe I'll just say that he is our number 1 quarterback. But he is also getting paid like a franchise quarterback. His 20-something million is not a few dollars. So I want to throw that out there at you as well. And let me get back on track. And I believe, okay, so we're at this Atlanta game number 8, which is our only primetime game of the year. It's a Thursday night here in Charlotte. Falcons were 7-9 last year. I've already talked about their key losses, their key additions, and what they did in the draft. I am giving us a win on Thursday Night Football. Home game, prime time. It's a short week. We would have just got our butts beat by New Orleans Saints. So hopefully, Matt Rule, when we're playing New Orleans and we're getting beat, if we're getting beat, I should say, let me be positive here before you guys get on me too much. If New Orleans Saints is giving us the business Sunday, let's go ahead in that fourth quarter, take some of those guys out, let them rest. Let's prepare for the game on Thursday night, get that victory against the Atlanta Falcons. Next up, Kansas City Chiefs. Now notice we have not had a bye yet. It's week 9. We have not had a bye yet, so I will be talking about that bye week coming up. And again, if you're still watching, hit that like button just to give me some support that helps other Panthers fans find out about me. It's a free way to show your support, which I really appreciate for this channel. So week 9, we travel to Kansas City for a 1 p.m. game. Kansas City Chiefs, Super Bowl champs last year. The record was 12-4. You got to favor this team, especially being out in Kansas City. I will absolutely be going to this game. I'm looking forward to going to Kansas City, to Arrowhead Stadium, getting me some barbecue. But key losses, they didn't lose much. They lost LaShawn McCoy, was their biggest loss for this offseason. Additions, this team is pretty good on both sides of the ball, pretty deep on both sides of the ball. So they did not have anything huge as far as addition goes, but they did get some depth at some different positions. And the draft, same thing. Didn't do a lot, but they did get a good running back. I forget the guy's name, but I feel like he's a pretty versatile back for the Chiefs. But do I think we win? No, I do not think we win this game on the road in Kansas City. Andy Reid, very good coach. Patrick Mahomes, one of the best, if not the best quarterback in the NFL. And there's a lot of enthusiasm behind the Carolina Panthers after that draft. We went really heavy on the draft on the defensive side. And I think that was good because defense does win championships. My shortcomings with that is just how all this will gel together from the very beginning. And I feel like anybody right now gives very strong predictions. It's just, I don't know what abilities that you have. I cannot give any strong predictions for this team when I haven't seen these, like all the people that are playing, you haven't seen them play together. And even more importantly, the coaching staff, how do they coach? How do they respond? How do they do things? I haven't seen it on the NFL level. I have no idea what this team is going to be. So I'm just really just shooting from the hip here and hoping that you guys are entertained by this show that I'm doing. I will continue to, again, do more shows for y'all. Let me check in with some of these comments here that are coming on here. Hopefully Dante Jackson has a better season than last year. We need Trevor or Justin can win a chip with Bridgewater. Okay. We're going to keep on moving here through this all. Where are we at now? We're up to week 10. Tampa Bay at Charlotte, week 10. Tampa Bay and Charlotte, week 10. You know what? Carolina Panthers with the upset as Teddy Bridgewater has an exceptional game. Christian McCaffrey continues to do what he does. Our receivers, Curtis Samuel, DJ Moore. Even our new acquisition, which I can see the guy's face and his crazy hairstyle, but I cannot think of that guy's name that we got from the Jets. They have a good game, and you know what? Our defense just plays lights out, plays a great game. We're able to frustrate Tom Brady, contain this team, and we're able to squeak away with the victory in week 10 versus the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. Next week, we'll take on the Detroit Lions. We're going to go for 2 games in a row here. 2 games in a row. Let's go ahead and talk about the Detroit Lions records from last year. They were 3-12 last year. When you're so bad and you're 3-12, you really can't lose much. So I don't have any key losses for those guys. Some of the additions were at linebacker, also at cornerback. They got Desmond Trufant, offensive tackle. They picked up a really good offensive tackle in free agency, so they did pick up some pieces there. The draft, they had a really good draft. Got a very talented cornerback and a running back. They really needed these pieces, though. So when you're 3-13, you do some good things, but you're so far in the hole, it doesn't make you, in my opinion, now a winning team. Certainly you can get more victories than you did the previous year. But I'm going to give this victory to the Carolina Panthers at this point against the Detroit Lions in week 11. Week 12, we traveled to the Minnesota Vikings, 1 p.m. game. The Vikings were 10-6 last year. One of their big losses was Stephon Diggs, and they lost a ton of guys in their secondary. On additions-wise, they got good help on both the offensive and defensive lines. The draft, they did what they were supposed to do and fill in some holes. Again, get some depth on both offensive and defensive sides. Do we win this game? At this point, I say we lose to the Minnesota Vikings in Minnesota as we travel. I want to say out west, but that's really a Midwest. It's just right across the line, but it's really, really high up. I hope that game doesn't bring back memories of what happened when we played the Green Bay Packers last year, which is when I got stuck in Green Bay for an extra, I think it was 2 days. If it wasn't 2 days, it was like as full of a day and a half that is possible being stuck out there. Locks Main thinks if I have us winning more than 5 games, I'm drunk. Nope, this is just pure water. But we'll see where I'm end up. You guys, hopefully, you're keeping track of how many wins and losses that I'm at here. Chris Johnson thinks we'll be okay without getting his hopes too high. We have new coaching and we have a lot of new parts. Yeah, that's just how I feel. Oh yeah, Robbie Anderson. Thank you, C, for that I mentioned when I was trying to talk about the wide receivers with the guy with the hair. Robbie Anderson is the guy that we picked up in the off season. All right. Continuing on. Finally, so do you guys have my record at this point? How many wins that I've said? How many losses? At this point, we have played 12 games. And I'm curious what you guys, hopefully somebody's been keeping track. I'm thinking I might have predicted us to be 5-7 at this point. I'm going to give you all a minute to jump in here and tell me where we stand as far as with my predictions and how many victories, we would have at this point. Hey, somebody's giving me some hearts out there on the Twitter Periscope. So appreciate the hearts and the positivity. Yeah, 6 losses for you. We're going to be right. You guys are just acting up. I don't know if the trust, what you said. Somebody says I have us at 3 wins so far. I'm going to have to go back and watch the tape to see exactly what my predictions were. But let's go ahead and move on to this bye week. Bye week, in my opinion, comes at a bad time for us. Again, you guys go ahead and hit those comments. Let me know what you think about our bye week coming so late in the season, being in week 13. Here's why I don't like it. Going back to what I've continued to say is that it's a new coaching staff, lots of new parts. It's pretty much from top to bottom. And I would like a break earlier because it gives them a chance to regroup and just have dedicated time, like a timeout. Let's see what we've learned. Let's see what we do. Of course, they have time throughout the week, but it's nothing better than not having an opponent coming up to give you a chance to really spend a lot of time looking at tape and really evaluating players and schemes and all this stuff. I'm sure they're going to do it as the season goes along. But I like having that break earlier. Certainly if things are going well, this week 13 break is good because it gives you a chance to to have some steam going into the last quarter of the season. So let's go ahead and continue with after the break. Week 14, Denver Broncos, Charlotte game, 1 o'clock. The Broncos have been struggling. Like I think the past 3 seasons, they have not been a playoff team. They've basically had the same problem as the Panthers have since going to Super Bowl 50, except for their season immediately after the Super Bowl was better than ours. They have then struggled in what I believe are the past 3 seasons, failing to make the playoffs and trying to find their quarterback situation out, et cetera, et cetera. One of their losses was Joe Flacco, quarterback, Chris Harris, cornerback. Some key additions for those guys. They were able to pick up some cornerbacks. They did have a big signing with, I'm sorry, people I think may now be in my house. I'm hearing stuff. But Glasgow, offensive guard, and Melvin Gordon at running back were some of their pickups during this off season. Sorry, got a little distracted there, but we'll continue to move on. Draft, they did pretty good. They got a lot of wide receivers. They are in need of those, as well as no, they got wide receivers with their first few picks, so that was pretty good. I give us a victory for the Denver Broncos game, and here's why I give us a victory. I feel like even though pretty much nobody was here when we played the Broncos in that Super Bowl, I think everybody has a little bit of history in knowing that was the last time the Panthers went to the Super Bowl and they lost. And I know the fans, of what fans may be allowed to be at the games at that point, will be extremely motivated and say, we lost in the Super Bowl. They made us play in the very first game the next season and we lost. Let's beat Denver. So I'm going to give us the victory against Denver Broncos. That's how I feel. And I see some individual player questions that have come through. So after I get through my predictions, we're going to go through that, let you hear my opinions. And then here on Twitter, Alan, I'm going to guess, is, do you wish we still had Cam? He says he's glad we kept Dante Jackson, but I wish we would have kept Cam. So I'm going to come back to that. Don't let me forget, I'm going to come back. Let me go ahead and finish strong. Week 15 of the Green Bay Packers. Now that's going to be a flex game. And I forgot to write down all of my notes, but essentially I believe that game could be on a Saturday or a Sunday. It's part of some flexible scheduling things, so don't know the exact day and time for that game. But Green Bay was 13-3 last season. Key losses for them was Jimmy Graham, Brian Bulaga from the offensive line. One of their key additions was Christian Kirksey, linebacker. And in the draft, they picked up another quarterback, which, some people think that good old Aaron Rodgers may be upset about it, but that's what they did. They did pick up a quarterback in the first round. And what their fan base was not happy about was they got a backup quarterback for Aaron Rodgers, but yet they didn't give them any more weapons on the wide receiver corps. They still need to address some of their wide receivers in Green Bay, which they did not do in the draft and so far have not done in free agency. This is a game that I will not be going to. I know I said I was going to tell you games I will be attending and not attending. I think I've lost track or didn't do it earlier on with all the games. I went to Green Bay last year and it was an extremely great experience. I feel like Green Bay had some of the nicest people in the world. I won't go on and on about it because I know I have a lot in the past. But the one thing, and it was not indicative of the people, but the flights. Some kind of snowstorm, wasn't even in Green Bay, but Green Bay is a small town. So that airport doesn't have all the stuff that, a Chicago airport would have or Milwaukee would have. And flights got delayed, and some reporters ended up having to drive, and some people got buses to get out of there. Anyway, for that reason, I will not be going to Green Bay, but I will, again, be bringing you coverage of that game. And I predict a Green Bay victory in that game. Week 16, gotta love this game. We play our former coach, Ron Rivera, the Washington Redskins. That game is in Washington at 1 o'clock. Redskins were 3-13 last year. Key losses, they lost a bunch of their backup quarterbacks, and essentially the entire defensive secondary gone out of there, including good old Josh Norman, who now plays for the Buffalo Bills. So this game has a lot of appeal. I know a lot of reporters, including myself, cannot wait to talk to Ron Rivera prior to that game. Something that's really cool is, I believe it's on a Tuesday, definitely by Wednesday, but that week prior to the game, we get a chance to talk to a coach and a player. And that's always fun when there's a former coach or player on the other side that we talk to. A little bit more media gets to sit in on that this conference call that we do. And nevertheless, I always like to give you a sneak peek at what happens behind the scenes. But I'm going to predict a Carolina Panthers victory against the Washington Redskins up there in D.C. Week 16. Last game to go. Last game to go will be indeed another loss to the New Orleans Saints. That game will be at 1 o'clock here in Charlotte. I've already talked about their NFC South champs, 13-3 last year. Drew Brees, tons of weapons, both sides of the ball. Only way that we win this game is if the Saints have already clinched and have no reason to play all their starters. So there you have it. Those are my predictions. That's my review of the Carolina Panthers 2020 schedule. Again, my apologies for being a few days late, recently engaged. So give me a little hand clap. Give me a super chat if you want donations to the site. If you're still watching, give me a like. That always helps other Panthers fans find out. And if you have enjoyed the content, I invite you to subscribe to the channel. I will have some interviews this week coming up with some of our undrafted free agents, just to continue to bring some sports to the world. As we know, there's not been sports for a good, 6 weeks now. Everybody's watching Jordan's Last Dance, which I have not been caught up to date on, so don't tell me anything that's happened. So let me go back to some of the individual questions that had come out. All right. Alan, I believe is how to say this, over on Twitter/Periscope. Appreciate all the hearts. Do I wish we had still had Cam? You know, personally, sad to see Cam go. He's so exciting to watch. He's so entertaining to watch. However, I see that he has certainly had problems the past 2 years staying healthy. And I can understand the release of Cam Newton. So wanted to make sure I got to your question there over on the Twitter. Maurice Crosby says that I got us at 8-8. Is that what I did? 8-8? That's okay. I'm trusting you that I have us at 8-8. I did not keep track of who I said that we would win or who I said that we would lose, but 8-8 is what has been reported. Locks, man, I don't know who you're talking about there with that last question. Sam Franklin. Let me scroll back up though and make sure I didn't skip over anything that you all would have been talking about. Some people obviously twisting my record. I think I already made the comment on Dante Jackson. Who wins the kicker job, Gano or Joey Sly? I feel like if Gano is healthy, which he should be, I feel like Gano wins the job. Sly has a really powerful leg, showed some definite inconsistency last year. So kickers can play like quarterbacks until their 40s. I know Gano is actually, strangely, one of the now older members on this team and is, I believe, approaching mid-30s, maybe 33, 34. But I believe that Gano will win the job over Joey Sly. Who wins the backup job, Greer or Walker? I can't say. This is something that, I have to report on more as we get into camps, whenever that starts. I am familiar with Greer a little bit, seeing him last year. I don't follow a lot of college ball. And Walker, he had his stint in the XFL, didn't watch any of that. So I don't have much, but again, ask me as we get a chance to see these guys on the field and evaluate them, and I can tell you from having firsthand experience with my own two eyes about what I feel about those two. Continuing on. just reading through some of the comments here, make sure I get through everything before I got off. Yeah, that snowstorm in Green Bay was definitely traumatic for me. It was not fun at all. You want me to interview Joe Brady? All right, so I think I got through everything there. Let me tell you guys who I got coming on the show later this week, so that you can hopefully tune in and watch. Doing undrafted free agents this week. I was talking to Omar Bayless. So he has agreed to come on Thursday. That'll be a Thursday show. And then I've been in talks with another player. We have not exactly set the date yet, so I will not speak about that because I don't want to jinx anything. So there you have it. Carolina Panthers 2020 schedule has only one primetime game. That will be Thursday against the Atlanta Falcons, October 29th at 8:20, predicting that we'll win that game. All the other games are essentially 1 o'clock games with the exception of the 4 o'clock game, which we will have against the Los Angeles Chargers early September, and then the game against the Green Bay Packers. That one is to be determined on the 19th or the 20th of December. That's part of the NFL's flexible scheduling. So I think it's time for me to go get some dinner. Love catching up with everyone. Hope everyone is doing well. If you are not doing so, please, I also encourage you to follow me on other social media such as Instagram and Twitter. All of my social media is at Charlotte Vibe. Everybody enjoy their evening. And again, stay safe, stay safe, stay safe.